All right, hey everybody. We're going to start out by each of us is going to do a little thing that we've been working on. We've been collaborating. Um, I've been collaborating with a guitarist, as has Yusef, and kind of taking back poetry back to its origins in an oral tradition. So we're each going to do a piece for you, and then we'll probably talk a little bit about how we collaborate, and then have a conversation with you all. So, I'm going to start out with this piece. I did a book of blues poems and portraits, and it's got a lot of woodcuts of blues artists in here. And this is called Black Snake Blues. I'm tired of dragging a man's name like a stick along fence slats, and the song always broken, and the light always asking me for money. Let me lie down where the roads cross. Oh, black snake crawling. I'll scatter my powders and salt and wait for the rider with a bottle of whiskey and another of graveyard dirt. Crawling in my room. I'll wait while the heat seethes up and becomes pure silence for miles in all 12 directions. I'll watch for a wild horse, a storm. Let me wait for the sky to bear down and tell me who it wants. Oh, black snake crawling. Let it want some other woman. Let it find her and hold the night open.
How y'all doing out there? Y'all good? I can't hear you. What? How are you? Okay, I feel better. Thanks so much for coming out. You guys are awesome, man. Let's have another round of applause. Really. Yeah. I'm gonna do a song from Yusef and mine's brand new album, Endangered. It's called This Time. stand you up against the wall. Heartbeats faint, just like a whisper. Blade of grass trembling in moonlight. There's always so much laughter before the fight, and I hope this will make it all better. I hope this will make it all better this time. Up here in the house of dreams is all the usual anointed extremists, the crazy crawling out of kingdom come, like lovers lost in each other's arms. Ooh. Melted all down to a side and hold on to desire until they die, 'cause they hope it will make it all better. Yes, they hope it will make it all better. They hope it will make it all better this time. This time. Can you hear the screams? Lord have mercy in the burning streets. What will hold this world together? What will hold this world together? Together. Now I'm a man. They just don't understand. Can't you see, can't you see? I'm running for my life with nowhere to go, nowhere to hide. Ooh. So I'll stand and fight. Yes, I'll stand and fight. Yes, I will. I'll stand, stand. Can't you see, can't you see? I'm running for my life. Can't you see, can't you see? With no place to go, nowhere to hide. Can't you see, can't you see?
Beautiful. That just lifted me right up. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who goes? Do I
So-
go?
What?
Should I go?
You want to go? You go.
I'll go.
You go ahead.
I'm
You
gonna
go. He's going to go.
Yeah, so poetry and song, right? That's what we're here to talk about. The album Endangered, I'm being a little specific right now at the top of this, but obviously it expands, so take every word I say metaphorically. The album Endangered is about the realities of being black in America. Okay. Coincidentally, forget her name, God forgive me, she just won an award for Abbott Elementary, and she went on to accept her award. And she's singing, I am an endangered species, right? A couple of weeks ago, right? How timely. And so what happens in terms of how Yusef and I have worked for the last over 20 years, I'm so honored to say that. I've been writing songs with this guy for 20 years. I can't even believe it, right? He gets an idea, and he calls me up and he says, hey man, I got an idea. I said, okay, Yusef, what's the idea? He goes, I've been thinking, and then he sends me some words, okay? They come in different forms. Some of them are straight poetry, very clearly poetic. Others are very clearly in like a preliminary verse chorus type of refrain with repeated phrases, you know. Sometimes it's a combination of both. And part of our process is that I then have to immerse myself in these words and figure out what they mean to me, even though we have a general direction of what we're trying to work on, right? I have to figure out what they mean to me individually, and then I have to think about, okay, so if we're going to make an album, so there's an arc to the album, okay, so where would this go in an album? And that informs the tone, the kinds of chords, the kinds of musical references I might pull in. And then I've got to figure out what sounds good coming out of my mouth, right? Because not everything that is written or read sounds good being sung, or put this way, it can be tricky or challenging at any rate. We've been doing this for a while, so you can imagine the back and forth is very intense and it's thrilling actually. And sometimes we come out with things, I go, wow, how did we get there? We started with this, but we wound up here, and thank God for the most part, we've been pretty pleased with, we're doing okay, right?
Yeah, right. Like that dialogue.
Yeah.
Yes, necessary.
Why don't you read something, Yusef? Give people an idea.
Okay, let me try this. I should say this, that for my poetry, usually the form is open. For the lyrics, for the most part, they're closed with rhyme and what have you. But try a poem that's a little different. The Quran. We have this to call to the dead among the living. This wooden triangle, its belly, a gourd resonator the size of a man's cup hands, inverted in prayer and war. He throws sorrow and laughter against the eardrum till the silent motion of the hills finds us in the city. Water trembles at the taproot when strings are struck, reaching down through muscle memory to a shelter of mud bricks baked under 3,000 years of sunset. From the goat herd to the King of Kings, to Bob Marley. If Ethiopia opens in the lone Egyptian trumpets or natural blues of the saxophone, there's little pomp and circumstance in this earthly instrument, raised between violin and crossbow, to dance with, to embrace. When it speaks, especially to the drum, this sounding loom is the voice of a nation bargaining with the gods.
Yeah, so maybe we'll do one more with music. But I'll say a couple of things, which is that, yeah, we haven't really tried to write any songs together, so it's really been about trying to figure out how, what vibe, what groove is gonna go with a particular piece, you know, and thinking about the tone and where does it turn, where does it change, what's the thinking in the poem, what's going on, and how can the music and the poetry really fit together so one isn't overwhelming the other, so it's not the music overcoming the words, or you know, it's a different animal really when you have the words being supported by the music, and so it could be anything from call and response to trying a lot of different songs and a lot of different grooves to see what fits. That often takes a while. We've you know, done one for a while that we did one way, and then we said, no, that's not working at all, and we have to find another groove for this poem. And so that's been the challenge, I think, with doing this, is making sure that both things are happening, but neither one is overwhelming the other, and they become this sort of third animal, third thing that happens. Also just listening to each other, just as in if you're playing music with somebody, you need to listen to the other musicians. So I need to kind of know what he's doing, and he needs to hear what I'm doing, so that we can, you know, just be on the same page and be in sync. And did you want to add anything, Danny?
Yeah, I did. A couple of things. The things that Kim and I have been doing together, you'll hear maybe one more of these now, and then we're doing them again, some more of them tomorrow night. But in this case, these were all poems that existed without music that she felt like she wanted to try doing with music. And she's done other poems and other recordings that were done in collaboration with music at the time they were done. Some of them had music, like the one we just did, I think had a version that had music, so there was precedent for it. But a bunch of her poems that I've done music to were not written with music in mind. So it was really important to me, if I was going to put music behind it, that it didn't detract from the words in any way, number one. But number two, that somehow it added something or set the words off in a way that enhanced it, if we were lucky. And that meant I had to write some things and craft them. Poetry has its own form, and it's not like a musical form. Sometimes it is, but poetry's freer. You know, music sort of requires, when you write words to music, it kind of requires that you write words to the form of the music. Whereas if you're writing music to poetry, you might have to bend a little bit, bend some of that form, because poetry creates a form of its own. It could be a lot of different things. And so we've had to craft the music carefully to fit the stanzas that Kim's written. And you know, you'll hear that when we do it. And you know, it's still a work in progress. We haven't been doing this for a really long time.
I was going to say 20 years. What have we been, like 2 months?
Yeah, we've been doing this for 6 months or something. But it's really great from my point of view. It's great to do. And you know, I really want to thank Kim for collaborating with me, and thank Martin Farwell and the Dodge Festival for having me here, because it's great to get a chance to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we'll do one more word.
Before you guys play, can I
Yeah,
speak
sure.
to something that you
Yeah,
just
please
said?
do.
He just mentioned, poetry has its own. He said form. I would hazard to think it's. Believe me, I've looked for form. I've been like, okay, what is this? It's this map. It's a map going somewhere. It's just, and that map is different for everyone who takes in the poem, right? So yeah, there's a form, but it's extremely fluid, right? It's extremely fluid. Yusef and I did an album. It's called the Black Magnolia Project, and I'll try and condense this. He wrote a collection of poems in collaboration with a painter, right? And the collection was called Night Animals, right? Night Animals.
The painter's Rachel Bliss.
Rachel, what was her name?
Rachel Bliss.
Yeah, really wonderful artist. And he showed me some of the images, and he was thinking, he said, man, we should do something with this with some music, I was like, okay. And I read them, and I was just kind of like, what is this, man? What's it about? And the basic premise of that iteration of those words was, in short, Yusef looked at me, we were having lunch, he goes, what if, when we're awake, living our, somewhat normal human existence, you wake up at 7, you go out, and you're in bed by 10, right? That's our day. He goes, what if that wasn't the exciting part? Like, what if when we close our eyes, our spirits leave our bodies and go off and they're like superheroes and they do all this incredible stuff in the universe, and it's like, and that's actually the more exciting part of our existence is on a spiritual thing as opposed to in the physical realm. He goes, what if? He goes, how will we ever know? We'll never know, but what if? And that blew my mind, right? So I'm thinking, oh wow, so now if I look at this collection of words, it's not really speaking to me in my normal existence. So I need to do something to get closer to his idea, his concept, right? It's art, right? So how do you chase down art? It's impossible. But that's what we've decided to do with our lives, right? So what he agreed to do was he allowed me to use what's it, Brian Geisen and William Burroughs, right? The cut-up method, where I took Yusef's original pieces and fed them into David Bowie called it a verbicizer. He created a program where he fed in all of his lyrics, all of his writings, all kind of stuff, hit a button, and it spit out somewhat random verses, and then he would look at that and see how it informed him in a new way. So I took this collection, and I did that with each one of these songs. And as Yusef had said in our initial meeting about the project, it's funny, it's like, it opened up a whole new dimension of meaning when I sang the words. You would think, I assume we're all poets or at least poetry lovers here. It's funny how the power of just words in a seemingly, nonsensical way, whatever that may mean, can inform, a listener or an audience member or, the person who's performing it. It takes on a whole nother life, and so many more meanings. Same, for each song, it was the same words, I just flipped them all around. And I was true to that. I didn't sculpt it. I let the randomness be in it, right? You start sculpting it, then you're doing something else, I'm rewriting his words. It's like, no, I'm not trying to do that. I'm just gonna scramble the eggs a bit, and anyway, something that you said just now about trying to find the support for the words
is, long story short, I think that's the most important thing. You know, I lose sleep over it just to make sure I'm not stepping on whatever it might be, you know, and, you know, so, anyway.
Yeah,
just
no,
wanted to
I
share
love
that.
that idea of cutting things up and just, you know, scrambling them and seeing what happens. It's great.
Yeah,
Love that.
it's thrilling. It's thrilling,
Yeah.
but you have to be true to that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I made a rule. I
Once
said,
you invite the random, it has to be random.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, you just gotta just go with that, because otherwise you just keep flipping it, right, and it becomes something else. But it just gets further and further away from the, you know, the poets or the lyricists, you know, their hand or their brain. I mean, who knows what the intention is, right? I'm not sitting next to Yusef when he's writing these things. I don't know. He gives them to me, and then he, as a collaborator, you know, the collaborative process is that we allow each other space, you know, to give and take. So, anyway, catch.
Yeah, all right. Got it.
All right.
So we'll do one more. This is called Radio Blues, and it mentions the Jake leg, which is something you may not know about. It goes back to like 1930 or so. During Prohibition, when people couldn't get alcohol, they would drink these sort of tonics and medicinal things, and there was one of these Jamaican ginger extract that was known as Jake. Jake was about 70 to 80% alcohol. So people were drinking their Jake because they couldn't get whiskey or anything else. And so the people that were making it decided they had to put a stop to that and not make Jake taste as good as it did. And so what happened is they ended up diluting it with some chemicals that were used for tanning, I believe, for tanning leather. And so that made a lot of people sick, and it affected the spine, and it especially affected the feet and paralyzed the feet. And so people would walk with this really awkward, you know, gait, and they called that the Jake leg. So just to say that's mentioned here. Okay, so Radio Blues. Well, men wake up drunk, but never on champagne. They get death letters, they get the Jake leg. They find their guitars and put on their shoes. If only I could find the door back to you. Well, women study evil, but I don't know how. The crossroads are nothing but a liquor store now. Everyone wants to dive headfirst into love. I want to put my hand to a red-hot stove. Morning and midnight, the voices moan. I wish you would call me on my toy telephone. Blues pouring like concrete from a spinning drum. Before it sets, I'm gonna lay myself down. Well, you were the river that drowned me most. You were, now it's the radio host. Choosing the music, bringing you back. You and the door and the foolproof lock. Yeah, so that was one that had a very regular sort of meter and rhyme, and I thought this will fit right in, but we had to change up the way the blues usually gets played in order to do something a little different and feel like it fit together.
Well, we never did that one live before for anybody.
That's
we
true.
only talked about it for a few minutes a few days ago. I think I kind of screwed it up, but you know, that happens.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Should we ask them if they want to ask questions?
Yeah, if you guys have some things you want to talk about or ask us, I think there's a microphone
Is there-
standing
there's
out there
supposed
somewhere.
to be a mic circulating out there.
There's a mic over there. I see one.
Yeah.
And there's one over here.
Is it being
Mics in
Oh,
both
there it
aisles.
is. Yeah.
passed around?
Y'all must have some questions. Any songwriters in the house? Here we go. Hi, how you doing? Talk to us.
My question is, like, if you're ever writing something, like a song or like a poem, and you're like, this is way too corny, or like, this is way too cliche, but it like fits perfectly, or like it matches what you want exactly, like, how do you deal with that?
That's a really good question.
Songs? Oh, go ahead.
No, you go first.
I was just going to say that, you know, a lot of songs you can get away with a lot more cliche. Most poems try to work harder to sort of let that cliche be a placeholder and say something more interesting, because cliches just kind of deaden our awareness and put us to sleep. And the purpose is to wake us up. So you can have, I think of like Marvin Gaye, and he can say, save the children, save the babies. You're like, okay, right. And then he goes, save the children, save the babies. And you're like, oh my God, that is amazing. So the music, the combination of the words and the music, I know I'm not Marvin Gaye, but in case you were wondering, there's a lot you can do because you get the music, and that has so much emotional power. Whereas if you just got the words, you've got to get it all into the words, and you don't have as many tools at your disposal. So, maybe you guys have something to say about that too.
I, as a songwriter, that's a very good question. You got to follow your heart, your gut. If it's an emotion that you want to convey, and you should stand behind that and sing it, and don't let, peer pressure or social whatever tell you, man, that's corny, man. It's like, I love you. She loves you, yeah. Is there anything cornier than that?
Exactly.
And there you have it. Right? There you have it. It's one of the greatest moments that humanity got to share, because they just put their finger on it. It's real. It's a real emotion. Corny as hell, but that's how they were feeling. They knew that, everyone else was going to feel that, and so they stood behind it. So, as she just said, also, when words are being sung, there's a whole nother layer of stuff that can be added to it. So maybe on paper, if you like, Yusef says to me, you wouldn't believe some of the stuff he sends me. I look at it, I'm like, dude, am I supposed to sing this? Like, come on, But once I start singing it, I go, okay, and I'll find the chord and go, oh, so if I sing it like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. And the word may not even be saying, but the sound of my voice is saying, So I've used a word that wouldn't normally do that thing, but I've bent it into it. It's alchemy, right? It's just kind of like we're doing it. Great question, thank you.
Yeah.
Let's go to this side. Hi.
Hi, this is for Kim.
Can you get up on the mic, please?
Sorry. This is for Kim. I'm a huge fan. Hi, and I've been reading your work for a really long time, and I was kind of wondering, like, how you got started as a writer, like, preferably the stuff I can't Google, and just kind of how did you, like, develop your style? How did you find out where you wanted to be in the writing scene? Because I really, really admire your work.
I missed the first part of that question. Did you say something about Google?
Oh, like, I meant, could you tell me, like, the parts of your journey that I can't just kind of find on Google? Like, Like, how did you develop your style as a writer and a musician?
Just, reading a lot and certain writers that appealed to me that I would try to imitate. Really, it's all, to me, it's just reading what other people are doing, finding something that really seems interesting to me and trying to reverse engineer it and figure out how did they do that? That is amazing. That is so cool. How did they make that metaphor? What are they doing? And kind of just exploring that on my own. So, yeah, I guess that's partly where it came from. Is just really reading and trying to get under the language and figure out what it's up to, and then try to make my version of that.
Who were those writers?
Sorry?
Who were those writers?
It's been different people at different times. I mean, certainly when I was starting out, Sharon Olds was very important to me because she was the woman that gave me permission. Not personally. I didn't meet her for a number of years, but to hear her read things that I thought as a young writer were not allowed in poetry. You can say that. And once I realized you could say that, it was Sharon Olds in poetry and Kathy Acker and other writers in fiction that made me go, oh, I can say anything I want. I can do anything I want. I just have to figure out the language to do it in. So those, and then it's been different people all along the way, just sort of processing different writers. I'll generally get obsessed with a writer and read everything they've written and then try to really kind of absorb them and grok them. Anybody remember the word grok? Yeah, and that's just, and that's what you do, right? You take it in, you take in everything, and then you try to take it through your body and your intellect and your spirit, and then something comes out the other side.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You over here.
Hi, sorry, I have a question. Do you guys have a Spotify or something for the song? Or a certain platform that it's on?
You talking to all of us?
No, sorry, I missed your name. The person who made the
Yeah, me. Hi.
Yeah.
Danny Karen has, he's got all his albums on Spotify, and I've got a couple song lists on Spotify, but these particular things are brand new. So I do have a couple word music CDs. I think they might be on Spotify too, so you look us up by our names and you'll find stuff on there.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And I don't know if you guys have
All
have
of
your
our stuff's on Spotify and
Yeah.
everywhere in the digital universe. And we've actually got vinyl copies of our new album that will be at the Barnes & Noble spot somewhere over there this afternoon.
Nice.
So look for Tomas Donker and the True Groove All-Stars. You'll see it.
Tomas, is that song you sang on
It
it?
is on the new album, Endangered,
right.
yes,
That's
this time.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Your turn. Well, oh, wait, your turn. With the people up. Where are you?
Oh, there's mics up. Look, there's
Do you have a mic up there?
Yeah.
Yeah?
We go to
I can barely see.
Yeah, they do, Tomas.
Well, wherever you want,
Hard to see.
ask your question. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ignore you. I didn't know y'all was speaking. Please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I've been in activism and stuff my whole life because my mom had activism meetings and a 6-year-old and she just brought me. And my job has kind of been to get my white friends to be come, I'll bake cookies, just come and talk at the meeting of the town board and stuff. And how do you find joy and delight about when writing about some of the horrors of our history?
Okay, I lost a bunch of that. You said, how did we find joy in what?
And delight when writing about some of the horrors of our history.
Oh my God. That's a great, y'all got great questions. That's a great question. May I?
Yeah.
You wanna? She wants to know, how do we find joy and delight when we're approaching, discussing some of the horrors of our current existence, you know. You want to take that on?
Oh gosh, okay. This is such a difficult question, but I think it has a lot to do with observation of what's around you. Because joy is there, as well as, we can say, horrors of the moment. But I think as well there's a voyage inward. You as the individual have to also be a vessel for illumination and joy that is not given to us. It's a process.
Yeah, hear, hear.
Thank you. Great question. Are there other people up there?
Yeah.
Let's do another one up there because we ignored y'all. Go ahead, one more.
I have a question about the guitars.
Please, one more time.
I have a question about the guitars.
Yeah.
What type of guitars are they?
Go ahead, Tomas. Talk about yours. I'll talk about mine.
You go first. Go ahead.
Mine's a Martin guitar. It's an acoustic guitar, and it's a D28, if you really care about the model number. And I was just playing it on a microphone. So Tomas and I are wired differently today. I'm just playing into a mic. I don't have a good system in it, but guitars these days can be wired internally, so you can actually plug them right into the PA, and that's what Tomas is doing, and he can tell you about his guitar. His guitar is a beautiful guitar made by a different company, but I'm playing a Martin D28, which is a guitar anybody could buy. Go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah, I've got a Collings Waterloo Jumbo King that was built for me by the wonderful people down at Collings Guitars in Austin, Texas. Steve McCreary and the late, great Mr. Bill Collings. He passed away soon after he made this for me. And it is kind of modeled after Robert Johnson's guitar, his Jumbo King Gibson, like on one of there's like 2 pictures of Robert Johnson in a photo booth, right? And the guitar kind of looks like this, okay? And also after the great Leadbelly. In general, singers, bluesmen from the 30s, 20s, 30s, 40s, they generally had guitars like this that projected, because they'd often be playing on the street. Blind Willie Johnson often played slide on this guitar, this kind of guitar. It projects really nicely. I hope it sounded okay out there, but yeah, I have a pretty sophisticated pickup system installed into it by a company called LR Baggs that I think really enhances the warmth of the instrument, so thank you.
Did you hear that?
What'd you say?
She had a follow-up question.
Acoustic guitar?
One more time, acoustic what?
So it's an electric acoustic guitar?
No, it's an acoustic guitar with a pickup in it. But in theory, the idea of a pickup is an electrical concept, right? But it's like having, to be honest with you, it's like a little bitty microphone inside the guitar. Okay, I'm not trying to be contrary. There is a difference between an acoustic guitar with a pickup in it and an electric acoustic guitar. I think Fender has a new thing out. It's called the Dual Sonic, which is literally, it looks like an electric guitar, but it's hollow like an acoustic guitar. And it's literally an electro-acoustic guitar. You can play Van Halen on it, or you can play Bob Dylan on it at the flick of a switch. So I just didn't want you to get confused and think that you go buy one of those, you're gonna get this sound. Now, this is an acoustic guitar with a really sophisticated, like tiny microphone inside of it. Great questions. Whose turn is this side now, right? Who, that side? Okay.
Hi, so this is a two-part kind of question. Obviously, all musicians and songwriters or poetry writers have inspirations. So the first part of the question is, who are your inspirations? And the second part is, when you are inspired by them, how do you differentiate your work from their work or develop your own style from their type?
Can you kind of repeat the second half of that? I got the inspiration part. And
Yeah.
how many what?
So when you're inspired by someone's work, how do you go about the process of developing your own style of writing or songwriting and like make sure there's an obvious difference between your style and your inspiration style so it doesn't seem like you're like copying?
I would say you generally can't help being yourself and having your own style. You know, you might sound like somebody else for a period of time if you really, you know, admire somebody's style and you're trying to sort of pick it up and mimic it. But ultimately, you know, if you're being true to yourself, you've got your own style and you're going to find the way to do that. And the people that influence you are maybe going to help you get there. But the idea is to come out the other side as you, not to try to be somebody else. And it's pretty hard to be somebody else. You know, you can try for a while, but eventually you just revert to, you know, as Robert Haas said, I think, about a poem once. He'd start a poem and go, "Oh no, me again." Yeah, you know, there's no getting away from yourself in the end. But so you gotta work with that.
Yeah, good point. I think to go a step further, when you have that real moment, you go, yeah, I'm like, gee, I'm not Muddy Waters. Wow. You know, and you're sitting there. It's a realization. I'm not Jimi Hendrix. Wow. Well, you have to, hopefully, and this is like moment by moment, day to day thing, right? Hopefully you learn to actually love who you are, you know? Like really love it. Like, I know plenty of great singers can't stand the sound of their own voice. You know, and some of them get away with it because they're so good. But the ones, you have someone who's like not even, look, here's the eternal example, Bob Dylan. I mean, you know, I love Bob Dylan, but come on, man, is he a singer? I mean, what does he do?
Is he a harmonica player?
Right, I mean, what does he do? He's just Bob Dylan all day long. You know, you can't beat it. You know, he's a force of nature because he has just decided to revel in it. His influences are obvious, like, you know, Led Belly, Woody Guthrie, I mean, Hank Williams. I mean, it's obvious. He started off emulating those guys. And he probably woke up one morning and went, gee, I'm still Bob Dylan, I'm not Woody Guthrie. And then finally he said, you know what, that's what I gotta work with. Let me go work with it. So that's a lot easier said than done, so good luck.
And then also, who are each of your inspirations?
My inspirations?
Yeah, each of you.
That guy. He inspires me to no end.
My inspiration, let me go there because, you know, when it comes to music, I grew up in the South, and there was a radio station, WWOZ. And at 5, I loved the radio. The radio was taller than I. And I was interested for the simple reason the instrument had a vibration. And I began to imitate what was coming out of the radio in my own words. I didn't sing the words that I was hearing. I was making up my own words, and consequently, I think it really influenced, perhaps, poetry, my poetry.
Yeah. It's funny, Yusuf just described that's how you started, right? Yeah. Having confidence in your own words. You didn't care, you're having fun, you were a kid, right? Now here I am, a guitar player. He gives me words, and like I said, sometimes it's frightening. I didn't want to give the impression that it wasn't positive. It's frightening. I can read his words and literally hear chords. There have been a few songs in our catalog that I literally read the words and played the song the first time. As a songwriter, you can imagine that's like creepy. You start going, oh my God, you know, how did that happen? Like, I hope I recorded it, you know, because that was it, you know. So, yeah, this guy influences me to no end probably because of that, because you came up hearing that stuff. It's in you, and when he gives it to me, it gives me, as you said before, validation to do all the stuff that I didn't think I could do, or that I was allowed to do, or I was supposed to do, you know, so thank you.
Thank you.
Over here?
Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah.
I have a question on the writing part when it comes to music. I am a singer-songwriter, and I get stuck a lot when I'm writing my lyrics. Like, I have the melodies and the guitar, but then I just don't know what to write or like how to rhyme. And I wanted to know what you guys do when you get stuck.
I don't really write songs, so
Should I take it?
if you're talking about getting stuck in writing in general, are you talking about getting stuck in writing or songwriting in particular?
Yeah, like writing lyrics to a song that you already have a melody to.
You're talking about songwriting.
Yeah,
like,
songwriting.
Yeah, okay, so maybe, Danny, you've written a couple songs.
I think Tomas should take this one.
I'll take it, yeah.
take
All
it.
So here's my initial response to you is my truth. I don't have writer's block. I have avoided that so far. That being said, aside from working with Yusef and writing my own songs, I have a record label, True Groove Records. I have some amazing artists on my label, amazing band and partners and collaborators, and we do all kinds of different projects. So I'm constantly flexing my writing muscle in different situations, you know? And each time I do a different project or work with a different artist, you know, it's like doing push-ups, man. First day you can only do 5, second day you can do 7. You know, in a month you're doing 35, in a year you're doing 2, you know, you just get, you know, that's not the answer to your question. What I would suggest to you, not that you necessarily even asked it, I work with a great artist from Finland. His name is Sam Huber, okay? And his English is pretty excellent, but it's still his second language, right? And once we'll mess around and we'll come up with a groove that we like, you know? And during that process, he will just go, peanut butter, yeah, coffee cold, and he just, boom, and we record it. Usually in the course of doing that, he'll say something that really pops out, you know, and I'll go, did you hear what you said? He goes, yeah, wow, I like that. And then all of a sudden, we're off, we're running. Then we look at the rhythm of everything else, and we piece it together, man. Piece it together. I mean, seriously, we grow up and we have our heroes, right? And you listen to the record and you go, wow, they sat there and they just went blam, and it was amazing. No, they had to hunt and peck for each word, just like we do. So don't be daunted by all this other stuff, all this genius that we all love so much, you know? Take your time, you know? Take your time. Most importantly, have fun with it, okay? And don't beat yourself up. How old are you?
I'm 17.
You're 17? Man, you got plenty of stuff to write about. What you talking about? Yeah. Come on, don't take yourself too seriously, man. Have fun and you know, live in that. You know, and remember, you can always, these are your songs, right?
Yes, sir.
It's a work in progress. You can change them, man. You know? I mean, you could You can have a zillion hits on Spotify. You can still change it. It's your intellectual property. You can do what you want. Okay? I hope that helped.
Yeah, it did. Thank
All
you
right,
so
cool,
much.
man. Yeah, you're welcome. Upstairs again?
Yeah, hi. So one thing about me is that I feel very connected to music a lot. Music kind of denotes how I'm feeling or even affects my productivity, just influences my emotions on a daily basis. I always find myself listening to music in every kind of situation. And I know that when you combine music with poetry or any other form of writing, it provides such a deeper meaning and really hits you in the heart in a sense. So I just want to know in more of a general sense, what is that feeling to you when you connect your music to your writing? What do you feel in your heart in that sense? Like what kind of emotions run through your body? Because music is such a powerful thing that can really just send such great emotions and sensations through your entire body. Like what do you experience through that?
I don't know. I think it's just different for every piece. I often think that music has it all over language because music is nonverbal and it can make sort of a direct connection in a way that sometimes words can't. But then again, and Danny, I think, feels a little bit the other way. Like he really feels like poets have it all over musicians. So it's kind of an interesting, and then when you put them together, I mean, I guess you get the best of both worlds. But there's some, there's some poems that I don't think they're right for music, because the language itself has its own music. And the language, just the language in space is also a beautiful thing. So, and I don't know, for me, the emotion's all over the map. Like, it's really nice if I can inhabit the language of a piece and also enjoy the music that goes with it. You can't always get into that space every time you read something, which is why I think a lot of people tend to like their newer stuff more than their older stuff, because it's fresher for you and you're a little more connected to the inspiration that created it than something you did 10 years ago. Besides, you were a different person 10 years ago. So I don't know if that answers your question, but maybe it doesn't, but that's all I have. Yeah.
Who said that?
Somebody.
What'd you say?
Can you do another one, Tomas, or are you stuck?
Do you have another one you guys can do?
I can't really do it because I got to rechange the tuning on the guitar.
I'm in regular tuning
Oh.
if you want to play one of your songs.
That's okay.
Yeah.
All right, well then, I guess we could do one more.
You want to do X?
Yeah, let's do X.
How much time do we have left?
10.
10, okay. Why don't you guys do one more song and then... Well, actually, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Mr. Heckler. Somebody throw that guy out of here. Just kidding. Let's take 2 more questions and then you do the song. We'll close
Yeah,
with that.
I gotta run
Make
and
sense?
get my book anyway, so.
You what?
I have to run and get my book for this next one.
Okay, great. So we'll
you
take-
guys talk
so you
among
go do that.
yourselves.
Okay. So which side was it? We'll do the song last, okay, sir? Okay, cool. So which side were we at? You guys over here? Please, go ahead.
Hi there, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
So I was just incredibly fascinated by the notion of like our soul leaving our body when we sleep. And when I was younger, I used to think that everybody saw colors differently. Like my red might be somebody else's green, and then But I think as I got older, I started to shut ideas like that down just on the basis of logic. And now I'm realizing that I've sort of lost something where that can be an incredibly powerful idea that drives art and writing and music. And I just wanted to know, how do you let thoughts like that run wild and keep those concepts unhindered in order for them to, I guess, be utilized in your work? Sorry,
Okay.
that was a little bit loaded.
Okay, I gotta be honest with you. I only got like a third of that and it was like really heavy. Like,
Sorry.
I was like, wow, what's she saying? Wait, what was that? Did you hear all of that?
I didn't. I heard some of it, but
Would you mind really repeating it? Because I think it was really
I can
important.
slow it down.
So I was really fascinated by the concept of your soul leaving your body when you sleep.
Okay.
And when I was younger, I used to believe that everybody saw colors differently. Like maybe when I saw red, somebody else might see green, or my green. Regardless of that, as I got older, I sort of started to shut ideas like that down, purely on the basis of like, oh, that's not logical, that wouldn't happen. But I realize now that that can be an incredible inspiration for work, and I wanted to know how you guys keep those ideas alive without shutting them down in order for them to be used in your work.
Okay.
Sorry.
She's talking about Black Magnolia type stuff. Yeah, I mean the focal point of that collection of poems that Yusef wrote was about that idea. When I asked him, is this about something? And then he said that to me, right? It turned into a prompt, you know? Like, what if, right? He's already done his interpretation of it. He's already given it to me. So he's telling me, what if? Okay, so then, now I have to think about, okay, so how do I even get there? This is something I've never thought about, right? But not only do I have to, the idea of it was very exciting to me, right? But I'm also speaking to him not just as a friend, we're talking, we can shoot the shit about anything, but no, we're talking about creating something, right? So that's when I thought, well, wait a minute. What if we just scramble the eggs another time and see what pops up? Almost create a new language out of the language that you've created, right? Okay, so you're asking, how does one keep these kinds of prompts or ideas alive or fresh?
Yeah.
You gotta, man, you gotta do, I mean, really, you gotta think outside the box as an artist all the time. You have to live outside the box, now more than ever, I think. You know? I mean, I don't think we live in a world where anything is right or wrong in terms of our process in order to create. You know? I hope I'm helping to answer your question.
Yeah, no, you got it, you got it.
Yeah, you know, you really, and once again, it's easier said than done. You know? Just be patient with yourself and keep kicking it around, you know? Listen, I find, you know, collaborative work with, you know, the right people to be extremely energizing because I'm not responsible for having 100% of the idea, you know? No one is responsible for that. We each share the you know, the joy and the burden of this creation. Like, so we're each putting in the best of what we've got, you know? And we're hacking away at it, knowing that the stuff that we're not even using is still great. We're just not gonna use it for this, you know? So if you work with somebody, that's always a great thing to do too, you know? But as I said before, you know, Bob Dylan, he writes by himself, so I'm sure he just talks to himself a lot, you know, so.
Thank you so much.
Cool, thank you.
Tomas, we got about 4 minutes left.
Song?
Whatever we want to do. But
There you go.
We're getting the signal.
The signal. Okay, we'll finish
Here's your song, sir.
with this called X, as in EX. When I think about him now, I think about the money he stole from me. I remember the mice in his couch and the dying fish in his aquarium. And also feeling like a gilded royal barge was ceremoniously moving through my blood, while LED snow fell theatrically in the folds of my brain. I remember thinking nothing could ruin our love, which is what everyone thinks at first. But it turns out everyone is wrong. Some things are destined to be ruined. Cheap dresses, student housing, self-esteem, romantic projections. Ice sculptures of dead jazz musicians turning to mush in the rain. Some of the fish did themselves in, leaping out past the filter and over the edge. Others just flipped over and floated up and started looking kind of shredded. Mostly I think about how little I think about him now, like he was just some decorative saltwater display in an overpriced lobby, or a hangover that I sweated out in a single low-impact cardio weight routine, when once he was the creature who swallowed me whole in a huge, religiously significant way.
Danny, Karen, Kim Adonisio, Thomas Donker, Yusuf Komanyaka.
Thank y'all. All right.
Thank you, everyone. We have about a 15, 20-minute intermission before the next event. Great to see you. Have a great day.